hang around afterwards.
Got it. Okie dokie. We are almost live.
Mm-hmm.
And here we go. All right. Hi, Facebook family, Word Among Us family. Welcome to the Word Among Us Summer Book Club series. So we've taken a little bit of a break between our last interview series and now, but we are here with our Summer Book Club series. This is our official kickoff. This summer, we're actually going to be interviewing 6 amazing authors, and they're going to be answering some questions directly from you guys about their books, which is a really cool spin on what we've done before. I do want to give a plug as well. We have created a special summer sale, so you can purchase all of our books that we'll be discussing at an awesome discount on our website, which is bookstore.wau.org. So I will put all of that in the comments after. Now we have all of that administrative stuff out of the way. Today we have one of those amazing authors with us. I'd like to welcome Deacon Matt Halbach. He is a deacon for the Diocese of Des Moines. He's also the Executive Director of for Sadlier and a national author and speaker. He and his awesome wife, Stacy, live in Iowa with their 6 children. So Deacon Matt, welcome.
Hey, thanks so much. It's great to be here.
Yes, thank you for joining us. Tell us just a little bit about yourself. I gave the Cliff Notes.
Yeah, sure. So good Cliff Notes. So we're in Des Moines, Iowa, God's country. If you ever saw the Field of Dreams film, is this heaven? No, but it's pretty close. Iowa is a wonderful place to live and raise kids and be Catholic. I do work for Sadlier as an executive director for Catechesis. So I spent a lot of time talking with diocesan leadership around the country about how we can better support catechesis and evangelization. I got into book writing about, 6-7 years ago, and have written with another publisher. And now I'm with Word Among Us, and I'm super happy about that. And we've launched this new book.
That's right. And we have the book here. So everyone, I will reference it a lot, and I will put up the cover and the link where you can get this awesome book. But the title is They Saw Through God's Eyes, an Invitation from Mary and the Saints. And Matt is this is one of our newest books that we've just published. So can you tell us a little bit about the book?
Yeah, sure. It's first of all, and I'm a very practical person, it's a very short book in the sense that it's accessible. It's filled with stories, so very anecdotal, and because of that, I think it's very engaging. It's for anybody in the pews and those not in the pews. It makes for a great gift because it focuses on faith in terms of sight, like how do we see ourselves? How do we see others? How does God see us? And it takes kind of juxtaposes 12 saints throughout the millennia, and believe me, it was hard to choose 12 when we have so many, and then pair them up with people that I've experienced in my own life who are seeing something God inspired in the same way, and sort of what that meant for their lives, how that transformed their lives. So if you're into self-transformation, if you're into going deeper in your faith, if you're into seeing yourself as God sees you, I would highly recommend this book.
That's awesome, and a great description of it. And like you said, very easily digestible. And what's really cool, we'll get a little bit more into it, but there's reflection questions at the end of each chapter and prayers at the end of each chapter, which is really helpful when you're reading a book and going into that like transformation. It's like, okay, what are some practical steps I can take?
Right. And faith is like, we're so good at like awesome, like rich faith concepts and talking about them, but trying to apply them in our lives, that is an art. And hopefully, at least I believe, we've captured that art form in those reflection questions and prayers.
Yeah, absolutely. Like faith into works. So we do, like I mentioned, for this summer book club series, we're getting some questions directly from our readers and listeners. And so I wanted to kind of go through those with you. And the first one is from Donna in Texas. And she said, how did you get the idea for writing the book?
Good question, Donna. So I'd love to say that like God inspired it in a dream or something, but the reality was I was literally at a coffee shop and I was just finishing like a second espresso, so I'm already jazzed up and the brain's going a mile a minute. And I'm like, I would like to write another book. And that's exactly how this happened. And then there's this period of discernment. So I was praying about what to write. And I worked with Word Among Us and wrote an initial manuscript. And afterwards, looking at that manuscript, we thought, we almost need a book to come before this book, because this manuscript that I submitted was very theological and really focused on this whole thing about faith being a sight, a way of seeing things. We talk a lot about faith as a creed, faith as a moral code, but we don't talk a lot about faith as the way we look at the world. And so they said, what about like a book where we introduce people to people like saints and ordinary people, quote unquote, who have come to see life differently because of their faith? And man, the light just went on. And this manuscript that we now have as they saw through God's eyes, it wrote itself. It was so easy to write. And because I've just met so many wonderful people who have experienced this kind of self-transformation, seeing things differently because of their faith. And the saints too, just discerning which ones would match up well. It really did write itself. It was a joy to write.
I love that story. I think that's a very relatable story of the second espresso, because it's like, yeah, I'm jazzed, let's go. And the idea that your perception and how you see things can change because of your faith is a really, really cool idea, and something I think is really, really needed right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's something the church teaches us all the time through sacramental celebration and through catechesis. But like what's going on, for example, at the altar, it's not just what our eyes see, it's what our faith tells us is going on. And to learn to apply that kind of seeing in the rest of our lives really helps us get at the richness and the depth and the beauty of life. So you can't help but be changed by adopting that kind of seeing.
Yeah, I love that. And it must have been hard to narrow it down to, it's 12, right?
12.
12 states, yeah. So this is kind of a good segue. Chris in Maryland says, what does seeing through God's eyes mean to you?
So kind of what I alluded to already, just God has known us before we were even born. There's a wonderful verse in the Old Testament: I knit you together in your mother's womb. I have plans for you for your welfare, not for woe, from Jeremiah. There's all this kind of, particularly in Ezekiel and Jeremiah and in the Psalms, and maybe in other sort of sapiential books of wisdom, whatever, but these wonderful indications of God, like connecting with us before we're even conceived, and then right at the point of conception, and even while we're still in the womb, God is like working with us and he's shaping us. And it's not just physically shaping us. God imparts that soul, but we don't really go into what that does for us. But part of the thing the soul allows for us is to be able to have this relationship with God. So God opens the door to that, imparts this soul, and he starts filling our lives and our minds and our hearts with these plans and also understandings about who we are. And that comes from how God sees us. So part of the Catholic journey or the Christian journey is to get back or to recover that sight, the way God has always looked at us before we were even conceived, and to believe in it and to live out from that. And so it's really a process that leads not only to transformation in a general sense, but to becoming more a person of hope, more charitable, more merciful, and more rooted in the belief that God has always loved us and that we are lovable.
I love that so much. As you were talking, I was like, what, like a hopeful message I'm hearing right now. And so you just said the word hope. And I was like, there we go. I mean, what a joyful, hopeful message. And like, so it's like a safe feeling.
Yeah.
So that was a beautiful answer. Okay, so this is from Margaret in Minnesota. She asks, what saint in the book did you find the most meaningful and why? That's probably a hard question, but if you can answer it.
So I think it depends on how you define meaningful. I define meaningful as like in a relational sense. So I'm really interested in meaningful relationships. And in fact, sociologists who study religion and study conversion to different faiths or faith communities, they identify the belief that one will find meaningful relationships in that new faith or community as the primary draw to religious conversion. So in that sense, who am I relating to the most and is the most meaningful would be Saint Therese of Lisieux. She's always been my patroness. I had a wonderful, I have to really condense this encounter for you, okay, because it's a very long story, but we'll make it very short. Some time ago when I was studying at Franciscan University for my master's in theology, I spent time praying the rosary, discerning my vocation, and I was in this cemetery. It was a public cemetery, and I remember spotting, I was asking Mary for her intercession, by the way, help me know what I'm supposed to do. We all want to know what we're supposed to do, what God wants us to do. And I spotted this blue smudge like in this tree branch, like 30 yards away. I come closer. It ends up being a blue rose that's artificial, but there it is in this tree. And I take it. And as soon as I take it, thinking it's like a sign, you know, my religious imagination's reeling, and I'm thinking, ooh, Mary's color is blue. Maybe this is a sign that Mary's responding. And then like in the movies, The Devil and Angel on Your Shoulder, I also get all this negative feedback. Like, who do you think you are? And why would you think I would give you a sign? And, all this stuff that kind of brings you down. And I kept hold of the rose. I walked a little bit further, came across this marker. Again, I've never been to the cemetery. It's a public cemetery. And there was an engraving of Saint Therese. And now we all know, hopefully, the tradition that if she answers your prayers, there can be a sign of a rose, So walk a little further, and I'll have to skip all this part. Long story short, I get home and I call a friend of mine, tell him what happened. She says, you won't believe what I just did before you called. I just finished a novena to Saint Therese for you. And I thought, oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Sign. And 7 years after that experience, I found myself at St. Therese Shrine in a little town in Oklahoma called Collinsville. And I'm standing at the altar watching Stacy walk down the aisle. We're about to get married. And it was like Mary answered the prayers because it was all about what am I supposed to do? And here we are and getting married. And Therese got involved because here we are at her shrine. It was an absolute mind-blowing experience. And she's just been my patroness ever since.
Oh my gosh. What a beautiful story. When you said, I just got finished praying, I was like,
Yeah, it was, believe me, I was like, oh my gosh, this is getting real.
Oh my gosh.
Because sometimes we play head games, don't we? Like, is this real? Is this from God? I don't know. And then when someone says something like that to you, wow.
Oh, how affirming. And it's true. Yeah. Like, even if, yeah, we all get that. I think that's so relatable too, of like, who am I? Why do I think I'm special and I'll get something? But to open up and to be willing to see that and like,
amen. And to go back to Therese, one of the things that was so appealing about her for me was that, and this comes out in the chapter on her, is that she never really thought herself a saint. And she would say, I can't be an apostle. I can't be a martyr. I can't be a teacher. What am I supposed to do? I can just do love in little ways. Mm-hmm. And so this idea of like, she even struggled with, well, who am I to, get signs from God and be considered even a saint? But we know she is. She's a great doctor of the church. She's a great intercessor. So it's a beautiful story.
Yeah, I love that. Each saint is so relatable when you dive into it in the book. And some of my favorites are in there. St. Francis, of course. And then St. Thomas Aquinas. I love the chapter on that and how he like mixed faith and reason and science. That's right up my alley. So I love that kind of stuff.
Boy, we need his courage today to have dialogue like that.
That's exactly right. I was just thinking how timely all of the different stories are, especially his, for me at least. And you have one of my other favorites. I don't know exactly how to say his last name, but Blessed Carlo. Is it Acutis?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, so it's so awesome. Okay, so we have a question from Angela in Maryland. She said, I really like the combination of saint and the modern examples in the book. What made you decide to combine the two?
That's a great question. So if we think about our faith again as a gift of seeing things the way that God sees, seeing more to the world than our physical eyes will tell us. It's not just a gift for that sake, just so that we know there's more to life, there's more meaningfulness, there's more purpose, etc. It's to actually transform us and set us on a path of discipleship. And that path ultimately culminates in sainthood. If it doesn't, then we're not in heaven. I mean, we're all saints in the making, hopefully. Hopefully that's one of our goals. And so it connects that call to see through that lens of faith with the call to holiness and sainthood. And those two very much go together. And again, it's not a gift for the gift's sake. It's a gift so that we can give it to others and kind of live that saintly life by seeing ourselves and others the way God sees us.
That's awesome. So it's it's like putting it into action.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we have Trisha in Iowa,
hey,
the Field of Dreams. Could you share a time in your life where you experienced a change in the way you saw someone or something differently?
Oh my gosh. So these are great questions. So the first thing that comes to mind is when I was an adult faith formation minister back in Maryland, I had a person that I really struggled to minister to. Just very prickly personality, small groups, we would put them in and those groups would dissolve because they would just dominate those groups and just very, very kind of crotchety personality. And we have some saints that way too, Saint Jerome too. So if you're a person who's like, oh, I'm just not peaceful and happy all the time, you can still be a saint, all right? And this person was too, but he had to see it. And this is the point of this story. So 5 years of working with this person, and it was just nothing but like criticisms from them, and it just made ministry very difficult for me. I decided to take another ministry job, not because of this person, just because it opened up and it was more suited to what was going on in our family's life. And the parish threw a little reception for me. And this person came to the reception. And my first thought was, can I just have one thing where this person doesn't show up? And they get in the line, they come up to me, and instead of saying, hey, thank you for your service, she goes, you know, you rush your prayers. You've always rushed your prayers, and you make the sign of the cross way too fast. You really need to slow down. And then I'm like, ah. And she says, but I guess this is a reception, so I'll say something nice. This wasn't the worst event that you've had in 5 years. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is never going to end. And you can imagine those moments, and we all have them. And there's all people that are difficult to work with, and we are also difficult to work with at times for others. In those moments, how great it is to have like a go-to prayer. And again, drawing on Saint Therese, who's my patroness, just the name Jesus is a great prayer. Sometimes you scream it internally, which I was at the time, but just the name Jesus. And I said it, and you know what happened? This is the God's honest truth. I saw the person in front of me a little bit differently. And what I saw in the blink of an eye was all the things that this person did to minister in the parish, like doing ministries that other people either couldn't do or didn't want to do. This person didn't have a family. The church was kind of her family. She lived right next to it. And so all of her generosity kind of came to light, things that I was not wanting to see before because this person just bothered me. And that's all I could see. This person's a problem. And I kind of assigned that label to them. So God broke through all of that, all through that bias, and said, here's a bigger picture. And I was like, you know what? So I said to this person, and it just blew their mind. Instead of going, I said, thank you for everything you've done in our parish. Like, you make such a difference in so many people's lives. And they go, what? That's literally what she said. Oh. Then a month later, this is true. A month later, the pastor tells me, you won't believe who's been singing your praises and says you've been the best adult faith formation minister we've ever had. That person. And I'm like, oh.
I love that so much. That is such a great story, because we all have those people. And like you said, we can be those people.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. And it's so much easier for me to do like that. But you do take that time and invite God in, you can see so many different, and it's like, oh, you're scared of this, or you feel this, or whatever it might be. It's so transformative, right?
And it starts with how you see them. Like, if you're going to see them as a problem person, that's what you will see.
That's right. You know? That's right. But if you see the generosity, or you see like, oh, they're hurting right now, it totally changes. And you, like you said, like, you can see through God's eyes. That's an awesome story. And that's so cool that she ended up becoming one of your biggest fans.
Yeah, of course, I can't be there to enjoy her fandom.
No. Awesome. Okay, so we have a question from Beth, and she asked, how can our listeners and readers begin to do this? And that would be see through God's eyes in their own lives.
I would say the book will really help you. Everyone goes at their own pace and reads with their own purpose. But if your purpose in buying this book is to, again, really start to see yourself a little differently, and doing that by taking the examples given in the book from the saints and other quote unquote ordinary people, you will achieve that goal through the stories that are told about the saints and about other people's lives, which I think are very relatable. They're a lot like the story you just heard me tell. The prayers and the reflections in there, I think, are very beautiful and very poignant, and they ask very deep questions. And so take your time with this. If your goal really is to start seeing more as God sees, this book will help facilitate that. Certainly God's grace and the intercession of the saints will as well, but take your time with it. Read it meditatively, pray with the book. Of course, you can read it cover to cover and just sort of like, if you're trying to get through a pile of books, but that would be doing yourself a disservice, particularly with this kind of book. So maybe pick a season in the liturgical year, or get a book club together, and because having more people's insights really helps to inform and give context to our own, and it becomes this wonderful dynamism of sharing. So it's a great book for that too.
Yeah, as you were just talking, I was just thinking how perfect it is for like a smaller book club, or even at use in a parish for RCIA, to read with other people and really get into it and like discuss. again, you can breeze through it if you're on the beach, but I think, like you said, really sitting and meditating is the way to go.
I think so too. And I think a lot of Catholics today really would benefit from kind of a re-examination of very basic things like, why do I believe what I believe? And do I really believe God sees me as his child and that he loves me and that he has plans for my welfare and not for woe? And to really do that kind of self-examination, it's only gonna pay off, so to speak. We're always concerned about what's in it for me. What's in it for you is a whole new viewpoint, a whole new way to see the world. Now it sounds like I'm quoting Aladdin, but I'm not, but you get the point.
Whole new world, but you are correct. That is there's a lot in it for you.
Yeah.
So you can quote Aladdin whenever you would like.
My kids do all the time.
Awesome. Okay, so we have a question from Eric in Virginia, and he said, well, you kind of answered this. How can I use your book for prayer and reflection? So do you want to expand on that a little bit more?
Try standing on your head. No, you can do it in all sorts of different ways. I think that you know what I would do, honestly, and maybe I can give a nudge down the road, depending on the feedback from people who have read the book. Maybe you'll start like a Seeing as God Sees journal. Start journaling alongside these chapters about just how your day's going. And this isn't a very Ignatian practice to do. We call an examen, but just reflecting on your day. Where did you see God show up, or how did you see God show up? How did you show up to meet God? Where did you fail to meet God? Those kinds of things. But this is really that kind of a thing with this book is really an examen type of thing. So any kind of journaling you can do, because sometimes if it all just stays in our head, it might not go anywhere. It might not like have life. But once we speak it, that's why a book club is so great, or just sharing it with a friend, or chatting about it on social media, or writing it, just getting it down is so helpful.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. And I completely agree. I'm so guilty of like reading or having some sort of great revelation, and then it stays in my head.
Right.
It does not translate.
I don't know if you remember the Seinfeld episode where Jerry gets a great joke, but it comes to him in the middle of the night and he writes it down. He gets up and he reads it. He's like, what does this even mean? That's happened to me before too. You think you've got these brilliant ideas, and you really do need to be conscious, and you really do need to capture it. So in writing, so.
Conscious is important. And I think that's a great idea, is having a journal. And I'd love to get feedback from, also, like you said, probably on social media, from our viewers / readers, to get feedback on like what's been most helpful or what's been their favorite chapter of the book. So good point. And we'll follow up on that as well. This is a big question that we're ending on. Actually, this is the last question. It's from Catherine in Texas. And she says, how will reading your book change my life?
Woo! Well, I don't want to say here's how it's going to change your life, because and this isn't a cop-out, Catherine, this is a genuine answer. It's a very faith-filled answer, that you're on your journey, and I don't know how you need God to accompany you at this point. I don't know how God wants you to see yourself. Obviously, I know he wants you to see yourself in loving terms, but like what sort of things he wants to illuminate for you. They're very specific to the individual. There are general things like seeing other people as our neighbors, seeing ourselves as children of God, etc. But there's also very specific individual things. And I think a great answer to that question would be, before you even open the book, to pray to God and ask God, show me what you want me to see about myself, and then read that book. I think that will help to answer that question for you. So I hesitate to say, here's a prescription, just go get it filled. This is what's going to happen for you if you take it. I'd rather say, let it be a living experience, very dynamic and very right now. Ask the Lord, what do you want me to see? And then read that book.
Oh, that was a great answer. That's some great guidance. Really ask God, what do you want? And then read the book. That's perfect. Well, Deacon Matt, this has been so awesome. I hope everyone has enjoyed getting to know you. Like I've enjoyed getting to know you. Hopefully next time, maybe you can come on with Stacy as well, and we can hear a little bit about her ministry. I know she's got a lot of good stuff going on, and you guys are just beautiful examples of living our faith. So thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to give another plug for the book. Everyone pick this up. They Saw Through God's Eyes. Go check it out. I'll put the link to our bookstore. You can always get it on Amazon, but if you go through the Word Among Us bookstore, we're offering a special summer book club sale. So we'll put that link up. And I wanted to give a plug to visit Deacon Matt's website, which I'll put in the chat as well. But it is www.deaconmatthewhalbach.com, and you'll learn more about your ministry, teachings, upcoming speaking events. You mentioned that you're going to be in Portland, Maine.
Portland, Maine.
So that's awesome. I'm glad you are getting to travel and reach more people. Again, thank you so much. And I do want to say, join us next time. It's going to be June 9th, and we're going to be talking about your most powerful question. So we'll be eliciting some more questions from our readers. Matt, is there anything you'd like to say before we log off?
Just thank you for this opportunity, Molly. I really appreciate it. It's been a joy to work with Word Among Us. And I really do pray that this book blesses a lot of people.
It is an awesome book, and it's very transformative, and I really can't say enough good things about it. So everyone check it out. And Matt, I hope you have a good rest of your day, and we will talk soon.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.